Stage fright is an incredibly common fear. Some studies rank public speaking as being scarier than ghosts, clowns, or even needles, but it's unclear in the findings if those fears are cumulative. Performance anxieties can affect anyone, and all your favorite athletes and performers probably had to deal with them at some point. And while not everyone needs to perform on a regular basis, most of us do need to do it at least once in a while. So it's good to have tactics to deal with those issues. Most of my experiences as a musician and music teacher, but most of the ideas we'll be looking at will apply to a wide variety of situations. We'll cover this in 3 parts. First, understanding why you're feeling this way, and why maybe you don't need to be. Some advanced practice methods to ensure you're absolutely, fully, and completely prepared. And how to manage your time and your symptoms on the day and during the performance itself, so that when it's actually time to perform, you feel calm and collected and a phenomenal performance simply flows out of you. Stage fright generally has 3 basic causes: fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. Fear of the unknown is a natural reaction because new things can be dangerous and you should be more cautious and alert. But as far as stage fright is concerned, the first thing to recognize is that you are in fact safe and there is no danger. You're just experiencing a feeling because you've got to do a thing. And if you can recognize that and observe yourself having this feeling, it can sometimes give you a bit of power over it. You might be able to grab onto that feeling and push it aside. And if that doesn't work, at least notice that nervousness can feel pretty similar to excitement, and feeling excited to perform is entirely appropriate. And keep in mind that these feelings are usually internal, and other people often can't tell that you're nervous. So, fake it till you make it. Project confidence and your audience will feed off of that energy. Regardless, remember that you can only perform for the first time once, and every time afterwards is a little bit easier because you'll know what to expect. The second cause of stage fright is related to the social costs of judgment or rejection. The fear of losing face in front of your peers is a powerful one, but think of who your audience might be. If it's friends or family, there's probably nothing to fear because those people know you and they probably like you, and they're excited to hear you perform. If you do well, they'll be pleased and entertained. If you struggle a bit, they probably won't mind too much either, if they even notice at all. And if your friends and family aren't very nice, and if they don't appreciate you and your performance, you really shouldn't care what they think anyway. If you're performing for your teacher, possibly for marks, remember that your teacher is on your side, and that you're there to learn and receive feedback about how to improve. And all the other students in the class are in the same situation. If anyone in the class gives you a hard time and harasses you about your performance, they suck, and you shouldn't listen to them. People who feed on the misery of others should be ignored. Don't feed the trolls. If you have an audition or job interview, realize that you're just experiencing one part of the process to find out if you and this place really are a good match. And if you're not a good fit, that's actually really important to know. If this performance is part of your job, the stakes can all of a sudden feel much higher, and your nervousness is probably more related to fear of failure. But you can greatly increase your confidence level and chances of a great performance with proper preparation. Part 2. Preparation. If you want to perform well, you have to prepare well. This video is about stage fright, not how to be awesome at stuff that you haven't learned how to do. But truly, I think a lot of people underappreciate how prepared for a performance you can truly be. First off, efficient practice means spending more time on difficult sections. Resist the urge to stroke your ego by wasting a lot of time on things that you're already great at. Find the hard parts and work on them until they feel natural. It doesn't matter what the thing is, embrace the challenge. Things don't get better by not working on them. If your progress stalls, ask a teacher or colleague for help. If you find yourself saying, "I could do it at home, but I always screw up during the performance," make sure you're being honest with yourself about how often you succeed. Because we tend to only remember the good times that we play the piece, not the false starts or abandoned attempts. Look critically at your success record and work towards actually nailing the performance consistently, not just once in a while when you're lucky. After you've learned the piece, you have to practice performing the piece. And in this case, that means simulating performance conditions so you can anticipate challenges and solve them. First, practice performing the whole piece start to finish without stopping. That includes the hard parts, the easy parts, and even counting all the rests. You need to know how much endurance and mental focus it's going to take to get through everything. Use a metronome to make sure you're not rushing or dragging, and keep in mind that occasional minor errors are a reality of performance. Practice playing through without stopping, no matter what, so that you can learn how to quickly recover and continue the performance with minimal disruption. Also, practice playing in front of people. Even if you practice at home and you think your family has heard your piece a million times, there's a big difference when you say, "Hey, can you listen to me play my piece?" And they stop, and they put down what they're doing, and they give you their full attention. There's pressure to play well and to not stop, and that's an important experience to have before the big day. And it may even highlight sections that aren't ready yet. Next, practice performing in whatever you'll be wearing. If you're going to be dressing up in special clothes or costumes or shoes that you're not used to, you'll want to try wearing them while you practice. Decide if any discomfort that you're experiencing is reasonable, manageable, or possibly fixable. Speaking of which, anticipate discomfort. Think of the things that could go wrong and try to simulate them in advance. A common symptom of nervousness is a faster heart rate, which can also affect your breathing. So, do a bunch of push-ups, jumping jacks, or squats until you're slightly out of breath, then try to perform. This is a very important sensation to experience before the big day. You also need to know how to play when your warm-up isn't perfect, because it almost never is. Now, while always being careful not to hurt yourself, try performing with less warm-up than you'd really prefer, or when you're a bit overtired. Or warm up and then take a break and then try to play when you've cooled down a bit. Try different combinations so that you can learn to expand your comfort zone in this area. If you're worried that you'll be sweaty on stage, spritz yourself with water in the face or even under your arms. Then practice so you know what that feels like. And consider bringing a towel or tissues on stage with you, or even getting pads to put under your arms. You can simulate dry mouth by using a towel or a tissue, or breathing with your mouth open and then try to perform. To combat dry mouth, try to stay hydrated and bring water on stage if you can. Some people might have luck with hard candies or chewing gum, but beware of sugar, alcohol, or caffeine, which can dry your mouth out. Now, you might think some of these ideas are a bit silly, but the truth is you don't want to experience these unpleasant sensations for the first time on stage. If you want to go to the next level, make it weird. Try playing your instrument with gloves to disrupt your muscle memory and tactile experience. Suck on a lemon wedge or use lip balm to mess with your oral sensations. Perform in a different physical position, or in a chair that's set at the wrong height. Now, is this overkill? Maybe. But there's a spectrum of preparedness that you're going to fall on, and being able to perform under these strange and uncomfortable circumstances means you're learning to be a resilient, adaptable, and robust performer who isn't thrown off by minor changes or discomforts. Next, try to stay healthy mentally and physically. These things are often easier said than done, and health is a big long-term project. But anything you can do to take care of yourself, even in the short term, is going to help your performance, because your baseline reality is better. And while the best time to get healthy is in the past, the second best time is today. So, do your best to sleep enough and regularly, and eat well. You'll learn and perform better and more reliably if you're well rested and well fed. Regular exercise can be incredibly beneficial, both physically and mentally. It can release all kinds of happy chemicals to improve your mood, which can only help your practice and performances. Even if you don't want to, and you don't enjoy your workouts, try to push through, because nobody ever regrets going to the gym. Just find some sort of activity that you don't hate too much, and do it a few times a week. You won't regret it. And meditation can be helpful. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to be quiet and calm, observe your thoughts and emotions, and remember that you only experience your emotions, and that they are temporary and changeable. You can also use these moments for visualization of your performance. Imagine yourself on stage, maybe holding a microphone or your instrument. Look around the room. Think of where your music and your notes are, what the audience looks like, as well as anyone you might be sharing the stage with. Imagine feeling calm and confident. Mentally rehearse your performance. And if you happen to suffer from depression, anxiety, or anything similar, you should definitely consider working with a mental health professional. The source of your performance anxiety might not be so obvious, and that's when a pro can be helpful. Now, it's not going to automatically make you a better performer just because you drank a kale smoothie once. And we all cut corners from time to time. But if you can work towards building healthier habits, you're going to be a healthier and more resilient person, practicer, and performer. Part 3. Managing your symptoms on the day of the performance. Give yourself a good solid warm-up, but don't be tempted to do anything extra or special. Just do your normal routine. You want to play your best just like normal, and you're going to warm up and perform just like it's normal too. Today is not the day to change everything. Practice a bit, but resist the urge to do too much. You don't want to get overtired or freak yourself out. Maybe just do the fun parts that get you in the zone. The learning process is over. You're in performance mode now. If you have time to spare, distract yourself with things that will put you in a good mood. Watch your favorite shows, movies, or comedians. You probably want to avoid social media, because that can be a bit stressful. But consider looking at memes, or pictures of baby animals. Or just think about the good things in your life, or the things that you're looking forward to. Gratitude can be a powerful mood booster. You might want to try some simple breathing exercises to center and calm yourself. There are a million variations, but try breathing in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. Do this a few times in a row. And you can even trick your brain into feeling happy. It may seem silly, but for a lot of people, if you fake laugh for long enough, eventually you'll start to laugh sincerely. It works especially well with friends. And it seems to be that the connection between mood and facial expression actually goes in both directions. Even if you're not in a good mood, if you can plaster a smile on your face, your brain will actually start to think you're happy because you're smiling, and you'll start to feel that way in response. Fake laughs and smiles may seem silly, but they can be surprisingly powerful tools to get you through stressful situations. And I do think it's important that we take a moment to talk about drugs. Some people use various substances to treat stage fright and nerves. Treat these substances with extreme caution. Many people like to have a little something to calm their nerves before getting on stage, but know that there can be consequences. You can make errors you wouldn't normally make or say things you wouldn't normally say. And if you find you absolutely require a substance before a performance, especially if it's a large or an increasing amount, consider the fact that you may have a substance problem rather than a performance problem, and take appropriate steps to get that under control. And if you've done all the things that we've talked about already, but are still struggling with stage fright or performance anxiety, you should speak to your doctor, because they might be able to prescribe something to help. I'm sure you're aware that many people benefit from drugs for depression or anxiety. But there's also something called a beta blocker, which is sometimes used by musicians and public speakers to help treat some of the physical symptoms of nervousness. If you do try these drugs, try them ahead of time during a practice session or a lesson. If there are any side effects, you don't want to learn about those during the performance. When it's time to perform, take a deep breath and walk out. You've practiced well, you're excited for your performance, you're ready. If there's applause, acknowledge the audience with a bow or a thank you. Take a few moments to set your space. If there's a microphone, use it. The room is bigger than you think, and you're not as loud as you think. You should hear yourself through the speakers, so don't back off the mic too much unless it really is too loud and there's no sound engineer to fix it. If there's feedback, just make sure you're not standing in front of the speaker. Resist the urge to apologize or lower expectations. Audiences don't generally appreciate when a performance begins with an apology. So, take a moment to breathe and begin. If you make an error, recover as quickly as possible and continue. If you're speaking, it may be appropriate to correct yourself, but in performing arts, it's often best to completely ignore the error and continue. Many audience members won't notice anyway. Look up a bit while speaking. If not at the audience, look at the walls around the room. You can decide what works best for you. No matter how the performance goes, take a long, deep bow and walk off the stage with pride. You made it through a performance, and that is to be commended. Many people can't even be convinced to try. Hopefully your performance went amazingly, but if it didn't, try to figure out what went wrong and how you might be able to prepare better for it next time. So practice hard and prepare well. Take care of your body and mind, and take a deep breath and have a great show. Good luck. But first, story time and a bonus tip. Resist mistake face. A trumpet teacher of mine told me about a time when he was grading a student recital, and during a particularly demanding section, it just got worse and worse until it ended in pretty spectacular failure. And then in the rest right afterwards, he just had to stand there and wait. But the student didn't react, didn't make a face, and looked so confident that his teachers, who were expert musicians who knew the piece very well, almost questioned whether the errors even occurred. It was basically a Jedi mind trick. Thanks to my patrons and channel members for making this video possible. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member yourself. Otherwise, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and be sure to check my channel for more videos. Thanks for watching!